The digestive system is one of the most important systems in our body. This system is defined by the digestion of food into smaller pieces, but it is much more than that. This system absorbs nutrients from food so that we can survive. These nutrients are then used for growth, cell repair, and energy. Digestion begins in the mouth with the breakdown of food. This is the first step in mechanical digestion. Saliva helps the food break down into smaller parts that can be used for nutrients. The food that has been chewed is now called the food bolus. The bolus then moves to the pharynx, which is a membrane-lined cavity between the mouth and esophagus. It aids in the process of swallowing with muscular contractions and protects food from going into your lungs. The pharynx has three parts: the nasal cavity, oral cavity, and larynx. The larynx is made of cartilage, ligaments, muscle, and a mucous membrane. The esophagus follows the pharynx. The esophagus is a long tube that transports the bolus to the stomach. The esophagus is about 8 inches long, attaching the mouth to the stomach. It is lined with mucosa, which is a light pink tissue that contains specialized globulate cells which produce mucus. The esophagus then leads to the stomach, which is the longest part of digestion. In the stomach, the bolus is now transferred into chyme. The low pH in the stomach of about 2 indicates a high acidity. This high acid concentration aids in killing bacteria before it enters the small and large intestines, or is absorbed into our bloodstream. The stomach also assists in the initiation of the digestion of proteins and the storage of food. The stomach has 3 parts: the fundus, body, and pyloric region. Although there's practically no absorption in the stomach, it is very important for digestion due to the initiation of digestion of proteins and its high acidity, which kills bacteria. The enzymes in the stomach continue to break down the food, which starts the process of chemical digestion as well. Pepsin works best at a low pH to break down proteins into smaller peptides. The small intestine is named for its small diameter, although it is extremely long. The small intestine has 3 parts. The duodenum is the first part of the intestine where chyme enters the stomach. Ducts form the liver and pancreas to form one large duct of bile that enters the duodenum. Bile from the pancreatic and liver are received from this duct and enter the small intestine. The small intestine has a slightly basic pH because pancreatic juices contain sodium bicarbonate. This neutralizes the acid in chyme. The middle part of the small intestine is called the jejunum. The jejunum is responsible for absorbing nutrients from digested food into the bloodstream. The nutrients are absorbed into the bloodstream where they can be utilized for energy by the entire body. The last part of the small intestine is called the ileum. The function of the ileum is mainly to absorb vitamin B12, bile salts, and everything not absorbed by the jejunum. The small intestine has a surface area comparable to the size of a tennis court. It has such a large surface area because it covers folds called villi. Nutrients are absorbed into the vessels of Willows. The large intestine includes the septum, colon, rectum, and anal canal. The large intestine is larger in diameter than the small intestine, but shorter in length. The large intestine has many functions. It absorbs water, salts, and vitamins, and stores indigestible material known as feces. The cecum is a small pouch that forms at the first part of the large intestine. The cecum has a small protection called an appendix, which is used to fight infection. The appendix can become inflamed, which can lead to it bursting. The colon is one of the final parts of the digestive system. Its function is to reabsorb liquids and process waste products from the body and prepare it for elimination. The colon includes the ascending colon, which goes up to the level of the liver. The transverse colon crosses the abdominal cavity. The descending colon passes down the left side of the body, and the sigmoid colon enters the rectum. The rectum is the last 20 centimeters of the large intestine. It opens at the anus. Feces are forced into the rectum through a process called peristalsis. Peristalsis is a series of wave-like muscle contractions that move food through different processing stations in the digestive tract. Due to peristalsis, a deflection relax occurs. The stretching of the rectum walls initiate nerve impulses to the spinal cord, and then the rectal muscle contract and the anal sphincter relaxes. The anus starts at the bottom of the rectum and is separated from the rectum by anorectal lines. Tissue called the fascia surrounds the anus and attaches it to nearby structures. Circular muscles called the anal sphincter form the wall of the anus and keep it closed. Glands release fluid into the anus to keep its surface wet. In conclusion, the digestive system is very important. It is one of the most important systems in our body. It helps absorb nutrients and food so that we can survive. These nutrients are then used for growth, cell repair, and energy.